Hey everyone! So the dahlias have all been blooming for a few weeks now, or at least most of them have. So I thought it'd be a good time to give you an update, one, just on how they're doing, and also an update on pinching the dahlias, which I did, I think it was last month. I pinched 2 of the dahlias that I have duplicates of the varieties, so that way I can compare and contrast, because I had never pinched a dahlia before, and I wanted to see if it would actually create more flowers or not. So I'll show you the dahlias in just a second. You can see a few right behind me, but just as a quick rundown, so I have 7 dahlias total. I have 4 different varieties total, and then duplicates of 2 of those varieties. And then I'm growing them all in grow bags. I will link the video below showing how I planted them in case you are curious. And 3 of the 4 are new this year. 1 I overwintered from last year, that one right there, and it came back. So I'll talk a little bit about how I overwintered that as well. So now what I'll do is I will just show you exactly what they look like, talk a little bit about how I've been caring for them, and just overall give you an update on how they're doing. There are 4 dahlias over here. These are each a different variety. And then over there are 2 dahlias. So I actually had 1 more, which was a duplicate of this variety that just never sprouted. And I'm actually kind of glad, because I don't think there's any more room for a dahlia against this wall. So this is the wall that is on the north side of the deck. So the sun shines that way, it hits this wall. This gets the most sun because that has the southern exposure, since it's the north side of the deck. There was some wilting mostly in June when it was hotter than normal, like 90s and 100s, but I also find that as they get larger and start flowering, they start to wilt less in the heat. But what I'll do first is I will talk about the varieties that I'm growing. Well, I'll tell you the varieties that I got, and then the varieties I think they actually are, and then I will show you kind of what the difference is right now between the ones that I pinched and the ones that I didn't. So again, everything on this wall is not pinched. Because I'd never done it before, in case I did it wrong or something went wrong, I didn't want to do it on the majority of them. So here is what I am growing. I will start over here with this dahlia. So this is the one that I successfully overwintered. The variety that I got is Penhill Watermelon, but I don't think it actually is, because the Penhill Watermelon, and I'll put some images on the screen of what they're supposed to look like, it is much more of a vibrant pink than this. This is very, very light blush. Almost everyone has said this looks much more like Au Lait, which is beautiful, so I love it and I'm happy with it, but it's definitely not what I was expecting. So this is the one that I did overwinter, just in this grow bag. So I have not removed the tuber since I planted it in spring 2021. It hung out in the garage over winter. I think I watered it maybe like once every 4 to 6 weeks just to make sure it didn't dry out completely. And then I went ahead and moved it inside in April, and it started to sprout. So I actually had 2 of the Penhill Watermelon dahlias last year. So I get all of my dahlia tubers from a local garden center called Gethsemane Garden Center, and they sell them in packs of 2 tubers. And what I wanted to do last winter was test leaving one in the grow bag, which was this one, and taking the other one, digging it up like you would if you lived in a cooler climate and you were growing them in the ground. And I stored it in vermiculite in a cool area of the house and did my best to keep it moist throughout the winter. But life circumstances took over and I wasn't as diligent as I should have been. But like I said, this one I watered maybe every 4 to 6 weeks, whereas the other one, because it's not very humid here in the winter, I think I had to check on it like weekly. So it required a lot more maintenance over the winter, and it did end up drying up, shriveling, so it basically wasn't useful for me this year. So I did not replant it because it was long gone. But this one, much easier to do. So that's what I'm gonna do with all of these next year, is just basically keep them in the grow bag and put them in the garage. So moving on from the Penhill Watermelon, this one, at least what I purchased, was Emory Paul. And this looks absolutely nothing like Emory Paul. I think, from what I've seen online, and most people have said, it's likely Mikayla Miranda, but they're definitely, I mean, you can see in my hand, a much smaller bloom compared to, well, this one will get bigger, but if I come over here, like this one's a lot larger as well. So what was Emory Paul I think would have been larger. I still think these are really pretty. I've definitely gotten a lot of blooms from them already. Just again, not what I thought I was buying, but luckily these are the only two that didn't end up looking like they were supposed to, whereas everything else has. So this one over here is called Otto's Thrill. Absolutely love it. The blooms get huge. This isn't even fully open. I've already had, oh geez, I think at least 3 flowers on this one so far. I think most of these on this side started flowering near the end of June. So that's one bonus of starting them indoors in April. So yes, this one is Otto's Thrill, and then this one is A Edison, and again, it's the exact same color. This one's obviously just opening up. I've had 1 or 2 blooms on this one so far. So I think this is probably the one I've had the least blooms from up until this point, but there are buds on it. So that's what this side looks like. And again, over here, I didn't pinch any of them, but I'm still getting a good amount of flowers. So now let's head over to the other side for the 2 that I pinched, which are duplicates of these varieties. So over here, A Edison, which has not bloomed at all yet, which again, when you pinch your dahlias, you are delaying the blooms, but you're supposed to get more flowers once it starts blooming. And then Otto's Thrill over here. So this one just started blooming. I'd say it was about 3 weeks behind the non-pinched dahlias. And I've been trying to see if I think there's more branches. I still can't really tell at this point. Let's see if I can go down and figure out where it was pinched at. You can kind of see the cut right there. So these 2 definitely grew up from that. So I probably do have at least 1 additional longer stem than I would have had I not pinched them. But again, just because it's just starting to flower now, I can't say for sure that yes, there's an abundance of blooms on this one compared to the one that I didn't pinch. Now, this one over here, again, A Edison, I don't have any blooms on it yet. The non-pinched variety of this was the last one to bloom of the ones on that side. So it kind of makes sense that I don't see really any buds on this one. This one, though, does seem thicker overall with the branches compared to the one over there. That's a different dahlia in front of it right there. So I think I should end up with a bushier plant on this one as well. So we'll kind of see what happens as these start to flower more. And then I keep forgetting about my decorative dahlias. So technically I have 5 different dahlia varieties and 8 total dahlias here. But this is the Firepot decorative dahlia. They're in this bed because they only get 2 to 3 feet tall. And these also look exactly like they are supposed to. It's kind of more blown out on this camera, but what I also love about these is that they kind of sparkle in the sunlight, which I've never really seen on a flower or a dahlia before. So I'm in love with these. These are the ones I thought might have had a virus. I still think they do, but I've left them, and the leaves up taller on the plant look a lot healthier, so I'm just gonna leave these for now. But yeah, I think I've had 2 of the blooms on here, so this is the 3rd one. I think I've maybe had 1 on here, but I have had some blooms on those as well. So again, here's the look at the wall of dahlias. I'm actually pretty impressed because this is what I had in my head last year as the plan for this year, and it's not very often I actually stick to my plans, but I'm absolutely loving these. Dahlias have quickly become one of my all-time favorite flowers. They're just incredible. So yeah, this is my wall of dahlias over here. Some other things I want to mention just in terms of maintenance for my dahlias. So these are all hooked up to my drip system, and it's some of the actual drip emitters, so the Proven Winners drip kit, and I have it running. It was either running every day when it was super hot or every other day, and now it's been every other day because July has been cooler than June, which is not at all normal for our summers, but that seems to be working really well. I haven't had really any drooping, like I said, as they've gotten larger, so I think that setup really works well for the dahlias. Fertilizing I've been doing about every other week, and I just use anything that's bloom boosting. So I have a few different ones that I kind of rotate between. I'll link down the specific ones below, but really anything that's for bloom production, so something with low nitrogen, focusing more on the blooms than the green vegetative growth, should work out pretty well. I don't half the recipe or anything like that. I use exactly what's recommended on the packaging for any sort of potted plants. Again, they are all in grow bags. I'm planning to stick to that, especially because in the spring I lost a lot of plants to root rot, and I definitely don't want that to happen with my dahlias. I'm trying to think of any other like maintenance issues. I don't think there's really anything else I do. They're pretty low maintenance overall, I feel like. I don't typically get a lot of pests. I think last year, I haven't seen anything this year. This year has been a really weird year where I have mostly wasps, not a lot of other pollinators, and fingers crossed, but not a lot of other pests yet. But I remember last year, I think I saw like some cucumber beetles on them as well. I think I saw maybe one Japanese beetle, but other than that, not really a lot that was causing any issues for my dahlias. But I absolutely love them. I'm 100% growing dahlias every year. I'm gonna plan to overwinter these all the exact same way that I did this one last year. So just chopping off the plant once it starts to die back and storing them all in the garage, watering about once every 4 to 6 weeks, and then moving them inside in April. I will link down below the different videos as far as care and maintenance for these. So when I planted them, how I started them, overwintering the ones for last year, and how I did that, in case you have any questions. And if you do have any other questions as far as how I'm caring for and growing my dahlias, let me know and I'll answer them down below. But other than that, I think that's going to be everything for today's video. I will definitely keep you updated on pinching versus not pinching. Again, I think the Thomas A. Edison definitely seems bushier. Haven't noticed a huge difference yet, maybe one extra branch in the Otto's Thrill. But overall, I'm just really happy with all of my dahlias. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Not dahlia related at all, but I just had to show off this cute little cantaloupe. I just noticed it yesterday because I guess I just haven't looked at the side of the grow bag, but oh, I'm so excited. These are so cute.